Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the broadcast. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. It is Wednesday, July 17th, 2019. Back here with you again for another show. Got a lot of stuff to get into here tonight. And we'll be getting into some various news items as well for you on the show tonight. Thanks for all the responses to the topics I discussed last night on the show. I got some questions and some comments and some additional stuff to add to that for you here on the show tonight. So I'll be getting into all that. I don't even know where to start on all this, to be honest with you. Wow. I was getting hit up a lot today. I've getting a lot of PMs and a lot of emails today from people. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say concerning the Jeffrey Epstein stuff. Listen, I mean, I don't know how to, I just don't know how to comment in it. It's difficult for me to comment on this in any other fashion than to gloat. You know, I'm sorry. I don't get to gloat that often, but man, I don't know. It's hard. It's, fucking A, man. It's hard. You know, I've been through the battles, dude. You know what I mean? Unless you've been one of those people who've known something to be true and you've been yelling about it for 10 years and have people, you know, ignore you. And then, the 10 years go by and it all comes out that you were right to begin with. I mean, it's unbelievable. At the same time, not, a lot of that's kind of I don't know. That's kind of the response I get to this stuff anymore. I had that same response as somebody who left a comment on one of our videos the other day. I guess it was a show before last. This is a comment from YouTube that says, "Wow, Richie from Boston is live streaming Chuck Missler speeches right now. No wonder your appearance was sabotaged. CMP every fucking time." And that was our response to that comment. Fucking A. I can't say I'm surprised. At the same time, it's part of the course, I guess. I did a few appearances on Richie from Boston, and a lot of them were fruitful for me. Helped me promote the films and got some new listeners and supporters. I definitely can say that I saw an increase in donations and supporters and people buying my stuff after going on the show. I guess maybe the first couple of times, but yeah, the last two times, it was one of the times he was claiming he couldn't, he told me to be on there at a certain time. I mean, it was twice. It had two shows in a row where I'd get on there at a certain time and the show was delayed. And he would say it was computer problems, and I could just tell it was. I could just tell it wasn't. Well, because I could see he was logged in and all this. You just need to log in and all this stuff. Anyway, and the last time I went on there, you could tell. I mean, that whole thing was sabotaged and was getting attacked by a bunch of these phony fucking Christian types. And of course, I was like, well, why are they coming after me? I didn't even talk about anything. And then I, remember the CMP stuff. But yeah, I exposed Chuck Missler a long time ago. Another one of those guys, CMP guys, fake phony truthers. But yeah, there you go. So thank you for that comment. But going back to what I was saying before on the Epstein stuff, I was getting hit with that today. Because I guess now people have finally put together. How long I've been telling you guys? I know how long I've been telling you guys. Since 2009, I've been talking about the Khashoggi thing. That's when I found out about the info, was in 2009. I put out the Secret Right Volume 1 in 2009. And, just like now, I mean, even before that film was done, I was already on to the next research for the next one. And, gosh, has that been 10 years? That's crazy. I don't know why. I just remembered this today when everybody was regaling me with all this stuff about the connection to Epstein and Adnan Khashoggi, which, of course, I put together all these connections years ago. I don't think I ever told this story on air. I don't even think I told it at the time when it happened. But back in 2009, this was after The Secret Right Volume 1 had been out for a while, because I remember I had DVDs in my hand. And I met the author. He's an author and writer. I never liked the guy myself, to be honest with you. He smelled spooky to me. You know what I'm getting at? And I met him in 2009 in Dealey Plaza. No shit. I sure as fuck did. And I gave him a copy of The Secret Right Volume 1. And I told him that, because I've talked about this before, if you notice, see, my strategy at the time, and I'm kind of, I don't know, I'm in between. You got to understand, Secret Right Volume 1 was my second film I ever made. I was still learning what the fuck I was doing. I didn't even really fucking understand or even grasp fully at the time what I'd even stumbled across in its entirety with the Council for National Policy information. And I just, I was just really scratching. I just knew I'd found something big because there was enough big connections in there to let me know that, with big names, big name people that have been connected to large things. I was kind of starting to see the CIA stuff, but that hadn't really had its full impact yet. I hadn't really seen all the evidence yet to let me come to that conclusion, although I was pretty much already there, and I hinted that in the film, in the segment from Crossfire, with Pat Buchanan and fucking, the John Birch Society guy, and then the other left-wing CIA guy on him. I mean, that was my first sort of kind of hinting at, look, you got guys up here on this stage on the left, you got guys over on the right, and these guys are all on the same team, and this is all CIA. So that's another thing that people need to keep in mind and keep and remember. You got to look at the Council for National Policy, not Council on National Policy, as you'll hear people try to say. I don't think in every case it's somebody trying to intentionally do disinfo. I think oftentimes it is just an honest mistake. But I think in some cases, especially like with Alex Jones and some other people, they say the name of the Council for National Policy wrong. They call it the Council on National Policy. That way, when somebody hears it and you go look it up, you don't find you don't find anything. You get butt kissed because you're entering the name wrong, because it's not Council on National Policy, it's the Council for National Policy. But listen to clips and stuff, listen to shows, listen to how many times you'll hear people say it wrong, and you can't imagine, because no other group gets its name messed up that many times just by accident. You understand what I mean? When every other group, the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission, everybody gets all their names right 100% of the time. So when I first started bringing that stuff out, I didn't really know what I was on to yet, but I knew that I'd already had all the stuff connected to Jones. But that's why I made the conscious decision to not put anything and not name Alex Jones at all in that volume 1 of The Secret Right. That was an intentional thing. I had already been exposing him as being connected to the group and talking about it, but I didn't put it because at that time, you got to understand, at that time, people, it's not like it is now. You either had, it was real black and white. People either didn't know who Alex Jones and didn't give a fuck who he was anyway, so it didn't matter to them, or B, knew who he was and would 100% believe him, didn't want to hear anything at all that might indicate he might not be what people think he is. People did not want to hear it, and people didn't especially want to hear it in truth circles. I mean, people just got scared when you'd bring it up. It was like they just didn't want to hear it. So I knew that if I came out of the gates with that in volume 1, that's all people would focus on. They would try to ignore all the other important questions and important information surrounding the Council for National Policy and who and what it connects to. And again, anytime you see CMP, whenever you see that, if you see Council for National Policy or you see CMP, just in your mind, no matter who it relates to, if you see someone's name with CMP next to it, just always in your mind, instead of CMP, replace that with CIA. And make a conscious effort and decision to always remember that every time when you see that. And this will help you gain a lot more information in when you're looking for stuff in your own research. I can definitely tell you that. Because just like this guy said, CMP every fucking time. Yeah, well, there again. Just think about it in that situation, the situation in which you're referring it to, the commenter, and replace CMP with CIA, and then that'll tell you everything you need to know about the person in question. So, yeah, back in 2009, I met Russ Baker at Dealey Plaza, feet from where Kennedy got his head blown off, and gave him a copy of Secret Right Volume 1 and was telling him, he was asking, I don't know what prompted him, but I think somebody had told him or something. He was like, well, and this somehow relates to Alex Jones, dude. And so I started telling him about the Adnan Khashoggi connections to Jones, the connection to Jones and Claire Bronfman and the Bronfman banking empire. I mean, I was telling him all about this stuff. This is 2009, folks. Guess what he did? He laughed at me. I shit you not. The guy laughed at me. He fucking laughed at me. He laughed at me. He said it was ridiculous. Wouldn't believe for a second that somebody like Adnan Khashoggi would be wrapped up with Alex Jones and Claire Bronfman and all these people. He laughed at me. And yeah, I'm just glad there's so many more people out there now that are receptive to this information and want this information and know it to be true. But when it's stuff coming out like it's coming out today, and I'm seeing these, or getting sent these screenshots, getting sent these screenshots of these people, and I don't know much about some of these people. I looked into some of them, and that's a big problem with all this stuff coming out. Why is it coming out? I asked this question before. Why is it coming out now? It's great that it is, but if it's just going to be, if this is about bringing down the entire system and everybody involved in it, whether they're on the left wing or the right wing, okay. If this is about simply bringing all this out now to connect Trump to it, which of course he is connected to all of it, that's undeniable. I mean, like I said, I showed you those connections in Spellcasters 1 before he even got elected. But again, the problem with this is the timing of it. Why is it all? None of this is a coincidence. And who's it? Sam Spadino. I guess I got sent this screen grab by somebody today. I think it was John. I got a bunch of people on this. I'm sorry if I'm confusing who gave me what info, but I got a bunch of fucking hit ups about this today, as you would expect. I looked this guy up. Apparently, I think I could be wrong. Apparently, I get the idea he's some left winger. He's been going to Trump events, holding up Trump Epstein signs and stuff like that. Anyway, this was from his Twitter today. It says, breaking, at Vicky PJ Ward just revealed on at Lawrence that hashtag Jeffrey Epstein was connected to managing money for Adnan Khashoggi, uncle of Jamal, and whom at real Donald Trump bought the yacht Trump Princess. Well, I believe he bought it from the Sultan of Brunei, who bought it from Adnan. And he also goes on and says, at Queen Will Rock wrote a song called Khashoggi Ship about it! Exclamation point. Wow, buddy. Literally, me and my listeners, we have known all that information for 10 fucking years. 10 years I've known about it. Look, freaking out about the Queen thing. Welcome to the party. It's July 17, 2019. Welcome to the fucking party. Y'all are about 10 years too late. Man, I got to get some shirts made with some of my catchphrases on them. Yesterday's conspiracy theory is today's accepted fact. I need that on a fucking shirt. We need that on a fucking shirt. Seriously. It's insane. And this is, so much of this, man, guess what? I would have to, God damn, son. Oh, fuck. Well, it won't take long. God damn. You know what this means, right? I'm going to have to rewrite some more of the, I'm going to have to rewrite stuff. And so I'm going to get into all this tonight. This changes things. Holy shit. Not for the worse either. This changes for the better for us. So much of the stuff I'm connecting in Spellcasters 2 and 3 connects to this. When I started talking about the fall stuff and connecting that with all the, you aren't going to believe how I connect that fall stuff from the beginning all the way to the modern day and all the way through. This shit is off the chain. Oh my God. People laughed at me when I started talking about the connection to the fall stuff and how, Heather Mills was Adnan's bottom bitch. Man, these guys, listen, and I told you in 2011 in The Secret Right Volume 2, I told you about Jones' connections to Khashoggi back then. Nobody wanted to hear it. Everybody said it was just reaching. I told you about his connections to the Bronfman banking empire. And now Claire Bronfman is in the news, connected to the Nexium sex cult stuff, which I finally figured out how you say that, by the way. I was saying Nevixum or what. It's actually pronounced Nexium, I heard. So, interesting. I didn't know that. Are we really going to sit around and think that all these connections? Jones is fucked. I thought he was already fucked with all this other stuff going on. God damn. Everything I told you about Jones. And I was telling you this exact stuff 10 years ago. Russ Baker laughed in my face. And you watch. When this shit all comes out, he'll probably be writing stories saying he knew it all along. And so watch. You know how these phonies work. But that's a true story, man. I don't think I've ever told that story. I kind of forgot about it, and it didn't. I just started thinking about it today when I was thinking 10 years, man. Because I was trying to think about when I first came across the Khashoggi information, and it was 2009. And, this stuff coming out now, this is... So we're supposed to just think Jones being connected to Claire Bronfman, and that's a sex cult thing. That's we're supposed to just think that's a coincidence, him being connected to, Khashoggi, and how I showed the connections with Genesis Intermedia, and the guy that wrote the Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus book. And it was put out on Genesis Publishing, and it was financed by Khashoggi. And then he becomes a 9/11 truther and becomes a guest on Alex Jones' show on the Genesis radio network. We're supposed to think all those things are just coincidence. What about, last night, people brought up some great points about the stuff I talked about last night. When I was talking about the Naomi Campbell stuff and the Nardwaur stuff, and I've got some more stuff to talk about on Nardwaur here in the show for you as well coming up. And I completely forgot about this because, I was talking about how, Courtney Love's in those Lolita Express passenger manifests. And that was something that blew a lot of the stuff that I'd already put together for Spellcasters 2 wide open and made a whole bunch of more connections. And this blows it open even further. But yeah, Naomi Campbell was on the Lolita Express as well. And I'd forgotten about that because I was, at the time I really didn't, I had no reason to look at Naomi Campbell. I wasn't even thinking about her, whatever at that time. But the big thing for me was just the Courtney Love thing because that's where I was at in my research and it tied all this other stuff together, But after what I talked about last night with the Nardwaur thing and him inadvertently, I think, kind of blowing open that thing, Vanilla Ice being at a Naomi Campbell party and he's making out or necking, I guess he said, in the hot tub with Corey Feldman. And then her name's on the Lolita Express. Remember what I was telling you last night? That's why he hasn't come out with any of this stuff. Because he may have had stuff done to him when he was young. That's one thing. But continuing to participate in this stuff after you're an adult, when you have the decision not to anymore, is something altogether. But oftentimes that's how they keep these people in those things too. They've got just as much shit on them as he could ever bring out on them. But now thinking about that in terms of Naomi Campbell being on that Lolita Express passenger, man, well, my question is, was she going to participate in those things as a female or a male is what I want to know, And then somebody brought up, then there's another connection to Jones and his buddy Charlie Sheen. Remember all the Charlie Sheen stuff that came out with him with the tranny prostitutes? Then Jones gets caught looking at tranny porn on his phone, red-handed. And the big person that Corey Feldman was supposedly going to name that did him every which way you can do someone sexually. Charlie Sheen did, allegedly, to Corey Feldman on the set of the movie Lucas, which, by the way, coincidentally, or not coincidentally, however you want to look at it, but it was also the film that actor Jeremy Piven got accused of doing stuff to, which is really ridiculous if you ask me. I mean, the other allegation of, pedophile butt sex, that's one thing. But if you actually read what Piven tried to kiss a chick. He was 17 at the time. The girl was 17. So was he. He was underage. Both were underage. He tried to kiss a girl. She didn't want to kiss him. He said, "Come on, baby. You want it." And she ran away. And that's, so I don't know. I think that's kind of, but still it does show that there was some, it does give you the idea, whether that's true or isn't, or the severity of it or whatnot. Regardless, the point is that it shows you that clearly, if multiple reports are coming out from stuff from the set of that movie, that it was just an all-out sick, sadistic fuckfest, it sounds like. I just don't know how Jones or any of these guys walk away clean from this stuff. I just don't. That's why. Another thing I took shit for, from a lot of you out there, listeners and stuff, you know who you are. I took a lot of shit for not getting behind the whole Pizzagate thing. I took a lot of shit for not 100% getting behind that. People calling me all kinds of names. Getting behind the QAnon stuff. I told you from day one that was horse shit. Why do you think Jones was the main guy bringing that out? They were trying to create this idea that all these satanic pedophile ring stuff is real, but it's all people on the left wing doing it. Just like I started, even before I found out about the CMP stuff, started becoming suspicious of Jones, because at that time I'd already done my own research, and I knew that to say that that world government and all this, stuff is completely, tyrannical government is all completely nothing but left wing, and there's no right wingers involved. I mean, that's lunacy. I knew that to be a lie because I'd already seen it from my own research. So when I found out about the CMP stuff, that was the last thing I needed, because that connected all the rest of the dots as to why that was going on. And I always wondered, what's the whole thing with I always wondered, how did he meet Charlie Sheen? How did that come about? And then, I detailed the links between Jesuits and the Sheen family and Jones and the rest of that. And that there we are right back into the Catholic end of it with the pedophilia and all the rest of this. Man, it's crazy. It's unbelievable. You almost never expect. It's crazy to see people finally waking up to this stuff, and I'm glad it's happening. But at the same time, I'm just concerned that it's going to be used as a political weapon and not as the weapon to take down this stuff in a big way with all parties involved, left, right, and center going down. That's the whole thing. That's what I'm concerned with. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do this week in, week out, day in and day out, year in and year out. I barely scrape by. We're on less than peanuts here. We run this thing on less than peanuts, less than a shoestring budget. I've been ignored. I've been downplayed, and people, I've been laughed at in my face by people. It'd just be nice if somebody said, you know what, that Josh Reeves guy was right for once. That's all I'd like. And I'd be happy with that. I wouldn't ask for anything else. It just irks me when these people like this. I see this post like people are sending me today, and people are acting like writing breaking news on it. Breaking news. Yeah, buddy, it might be breaking news to you because you've had your head in the sand, in the left side of the sand or the right side of the sand, but either way, you've had your head in the sand while all the rest of us have been up here above ground paying attention. Now, if you were laughing at that, what I was talking about 10 years ago, thinking no, it wasn't true, and now you're seeing the proof that it was. What are you laughing about that I'm talking about now? That's going to come true 10 years from now. That's what you need to be worrying about. I mean, this, again, you just never know where you're going to find truth. I wouldn't have dreamed, when I was just watching those videos and seeing how many times he was getting stuff right. I mean, just led me down that rabbit hole, looking at that Naomi Campbell stuff. And now that tying in, I mean, this is a lot of what I'm going to be showing you in my film relates to this. This is all MK Ultra. All these people are all involved in. This is all CIA connected. All MK Ultra is connected at the highest levels, not only the highest levels of government, but at the highest levels of power throughout the world. It's almost shocking they've been able to keep as much of this a secret as they have for as long as they have, to be as widespread as it is. But of course, this is it's all reinforced by disinformation. It's reinforced by, urban legends and stuff they put in movies. And I mean, it's not, probably less so now. This stuff is coming more to the forefront and people are finding out about it. But, 10 years ago and before, you tell somebody you think that some of these high-level government people and people like Donald Trump and others and Bill Clinton are involved in satanic pedophile rings, unless you had hard evidence, man, people are going to laugh at you. And I think that's one of the bigger reasons why this stuff has gone on for so long. But again, I'm just concerned with the timing of it. It's coming out now before the next elections, Again, this is not new info. This is real researchers like myself. We've known about this for 10 years. You're going to tell me the people at the highest levels. Now, again, this is another one of those controlled dissents I was talking about. And they have to do these every once in a while so that people will think that this stuff goes away. That's why they did the whole thing with Penn State, remember, with Joe Paterno and all that stuff. You think that was the only time, the only case that's gone on? Bullshit. You think that kind of stuff still isn't going on? Bullshit. But they had to burn one of them out in the open. They knew it was going on for years. I'm sure that ties into with all this other stuff too. But they do that every so many years. They'll have a case like this so that in the eyes of the public, the public sees that and goes, okay, we dealt with that. That was the only, public thinks that that's the only case of that going on. Meanwhile, the machinery of it continues. So that's what I think a lot of this is. It's going to be interesting to see what comes out and what doesn't. And it's also going to be interesting to see when the bodies start dropping, because that's coming. Oh, I guarantee you that's coming. Bodies are going to start dropping real soon. Real soon. A lot of high-profile people, probably specifically in business and finance and Hollywood and the music industry, you're going to start seeing corpses dropping. Get ready. And I'm sure they'll do the usual thing and write them off as overdoses and suicides and all the rest of it, but we know the truth, don't we? We know what's going on here. You're going to start seeing, I wouldn't doubt they put Epstein down before. I don't know. He seems to hold the keys to the proverbial kingdom, and any testimony from him, if he starts giving up names of people involved, it would be the biggest fucking bombshell the world's ever known. It could literally, my God. Seriously, folks, this is not bullshit. If the shit that dude's got locked in his vault comes out, man, it could literally destabilize the entire planet. That's not hyperbole. That's not exaggeration. That's fact. I don't know, man. I don't see this guy doing a day in prison. I don't see this guy doing a day in court. I could be wrong, and hopefully I am. I really hate being right, to be honest with you. I get no satisfaction from being right about this stuff. I don't. But I don't know, man. I don't think he's long for this world. Either they'll fake his death or they'll take him out for real, one or the other. I don't see him having the opportunity to blow this thing wide open. I mean, the people that he would name control the courts and the jails and the judges and the everything else anyway. You know what I mean? So he's... he's in... Even by them arresting him, it's actually, I think, better for him. Him actually being arrested is better for him. Because all the people he's got dirt on, all the people that he's involved with anyway, again, run all of the courts and the jails and the prisons, and they own the judges and everything else, and they are the lawyers. He's better off being somewhere inside where they can control access to him, because I mean, this is a decades-long ongoing thing. Again, when I first started getting onto this information, even I at the time, it's taken me this long to even be able to really understand and grasp the full breadth of what I've uncovered with all this stuff. Even at the time when I first started connecting all this stuff, it almost seemed unbelievable to me. And I was thinking, I mean, God, how can this not be CIA? How can Alex Jones not be CIA if he's connected to Claire Bronfman, Adnan Khashoggi, all this stuff, all these CIA front organizations? Even then, at the time, I was having trouble reconciling and understanding it. But now it's all starting to come. Now we're starting to understand all this. We're starting to understand why Jones was the one who came out with the Pizzagate stuff. He was probably done that on behalf of Trump. But, again, if this is going to be used as a way to justify Trump being out of office and justify whoever the next crazy wacko left-winger they want to bring in is going to be. Oh, this person isn't involved, Gabbard Tulsi and fucking, what's his nuts from Vermont, Bernie. They weren't involved in this stuff. That's why they need to be in charge, or whoever. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. That's because, like I've said, I've told you this before. Left-wing media was not interested in this information back in the Obama era. They didn't give a fuck. They didn't want it. I sent copies of The Secret Volume 1 and Volume 2 out to, MSNBC, all whatever, CNN, all the liberal media outlets, because in my mind, if the left and the right wing is real, and is as real as they tell us it is, and we know it's phony, but if it's real like they tell us, they should want to jump all over anything that exposes the right wingers, right? That's what you would think, right? That's the logical belief to have in their so-called left and right reality system, right? Wrong. They didn't give a fuck. They didn't want it. To them, by that time, they had won. Obama got elected in 2008. They didn't give a shit about showing any dirt to any right-wingers at that point. They were no count. They just got done with 8 years of Bush. Obama's in there. They didn't give a fuck. Now, all of a sudden, they want to talk about the Khashoggi connections. They want to talk about the Bronfman connections. They're happy to expose Alex Jones now when they didn't give a fuck about doing anything and talking about exposing anything to him 10 years ago. You see what I mean? That's my problem with it. Because then I don't want people to think and somehow try to associate me with those people. This always happens. I mean, when I first started this, Bush was in office. You get called a left-winger, and then Obama gets put in office. I'm just continuing. I'm doing the same show I was doing yesterday before he got elected today, when he did get elected. The show has not changed. Then you start getting put in with the right-winger category. And then Trump gets elected, and now now everybody who is considered a conspiracy theorist is now considered a right-winger. And I've always maintained and always said and continue to say, again, I am and never will be, never have been left or right. I've never registered to vote. I never will. In my world where I live and exist, the Republic of Reeves where I live, registering to vote for any political party, in my mind, is a punishable offense. That's consorting with the enemy, motherfucker. Are you kidding me? We don't do that over here. No. That's consorting with the enemy. I don't give a fuck if you're left, right, center, fucking back, whatever. North 40 party, I don't give a fuck. That's consorting with the enemy, motherfucker. That's punishable by death. So, again, I've been talking about this stuff for 10 years. And now these lefties want to use it as strictly as political ammo against Trump. And Trump should be exposed for his involvement in this stuff, regardless of his status as president or not. You understand? But to strictly try to use this as the ammunition to, get him impeached or whatever, that's the thing. And of course, I'm sure that's what they're going to do. But this is much bigger than any of these guys, left or right, and they're all involved. I just thought it was interesting that I just found that stuff, and we just talked about the Naomi Campbell thing yesterday. And then Corey Feldman, and then boom, there we are back again. Man, it all makes sense now, though, doesn't it? I can remember, because nowadays Jones will, he'll shit talk Hollywood and call them scumbags. When 10 years ago, and even before that, he would brag about how great a reach his show has because important Hollywood people would come on there. Remember that? He went from saying, oh, it's important that he had Hollywood people on all the time. He had like Spencer and Heidi Montag on there. People forget about that shit. For a long time, he's having all these famous Hollywood people on there for the longest time, and it just literally came out of nowhere almost overnight, and it made you wonder why. And now, and especially with the stuff I've exposed in the connection to Trump too, and Jones into the Scientology stuff, don't think that doesn't play into this as well. And, their ability to just make people disappear. Yeah, you can bet your bottom dollar, man. All of this, again, this is even like the stuff I put out in Spellcasters 1. It was even more important then to what's going on now than I had any idea of at the time. It's a question from Tony. This is concerning what I talked about last night with the Nardwaur stuff. Tony says, Josh, first and foremost, thank you for being truthful and giving us straight answers. That is why I support your work. I'm searching for truth and not BS. Well, here. I don't have time. I don't have the time it would take to concoct the BS like some of these motherfuckers put out there. Who has the time to do that? I know you already talked about Nardwaur. Nardwaur is a whale, isn't it? Or a dolphin or something? So it's actually Nardwaur, but he typed Nardwaur, but I get what you're saying. I know you already talked about Nardwaur, but it raised two questions with me. I'm hoping your years of research will lend some insight. First, why do you think celebrities keep accepting interviews with Nardwaur all these years, knowing he's going to get personal and maybe expose them in certain ways? Secondly, Nardwaur interviews do not just seem to be for pure entertainment when you look deeper. What is to gain by bringing up such personal info on the celebrity in public view? Okay, so you actually have three separate questions there. So I'll address all three of them, but I need to address them individually so it doesn't get all mixed up. First, why do you think celebrities keep accepting interviews with Nardwaur all these years, knowing he's going to get personal, may have even expose him in certain ways? Okay, well, there aren't that many return customers. You don't see that many. There are a few acts, certain people that he's interviewed multiple times. Snoop Dogg, I don't know how many times he's done it, 7. I to be honest with you, I've probably watched 85, 90, I don't know. I watched almost every one of his interviews. And I don't think any of them are really, other than just some of the guys. Did you watch the videos I told you to watch last night? Tony, did you watch all the blowing rappers' minds? There's also Nardwaur blowing actors' minds, too. I think for the most part, with the exception of the ones that are being like, yo, dog, you the feds. I mean, there's a few of them. Watch the DJ Khaled one. DJ Khaled, he gets real scared and shuts him down. And is like, I'm not going to talk anything further. I'm not going to talk about family stuff, man. I'm not going to do it. This is personal family stuff. I don't even know how you know this. You could tell DJ Khaled was like really getting, there was a couple of them that were getting creeped out. I honestly, Tony, I think is that for the most part, most of these people aren't thinking in that way. They don't think anything suspect about the guy. Because a lot of them will just say, man, y'all do some deep research. And I think most people just write it off as that. It's a great cover, man. It's, it's like I talked about. That's why it was a great cover to have Chuck Barris, from the Gong Show being a CIA assassin for all those years. And so I don't think, and honestly, okay, how do I answer this? This is tough. How do I answer this without coming off and sounding like a complete and total racist, which I'm not? I mean, I don't care what color you're talking about. In the music industry, look, I've been in the music. There's a lot of people in the music industry of every color and creed and race and nationality And I would say that very few of them, would qualify as deep thinkers. You understand what I mean? I mean, go look at the people he's interviewed, man. These aren't exactly Rhodes Scholars, okay? And we go down the list and just read you some of his more recent ones. I mean, you know, who do we got? Billie Eilish, Lil Nas X, Young Thug, you know, Currency. He's done Currency like 4 times. You know, Cardi B, Smoke Perp, Lil Xan, Post Malone. You know, I don't think he's not exactly interviewing fucking Nobel laureates here. That's the nicest way I can put it, man. You know, I'm not trying to be hateful. I'm just being real. These aren't exactly. I mean, these guys aren't. We're not losing these guys. We're not losing cancer cures and fucking miracle energy devices to these guys being involved in music. You know what I'm saying? These are. I mean, I just think they think it's just deep from the. You know, they've got deep research. I do think that some of them are like, okay, this is fucked up. Something weird's going on here. But I've never seen any of the ones that have said that come back and do repeat interviews. If you can show me one that really said like, dude, you got to be in the feds or something like that, and come back and another interview, no. But I think they just, you know, they just think it's deep research or whatever. But yeah, there's some of this shit where it's like there's no way they could have known he could have known that without having access to some deep, you know, Fed files. Second question, he says, secondly, Nardwaur interviews do not just seem to be for pure entertainment when you look deeper. Well, that's what I was kind of getting at yesterday when I talked about this was, you know, that's such a great way to have, you know, a plant or an agent out there that nobody is going to suspect. And so to get on to the third part of your question, what is to gain by bringing up such personal info on the celebrity public? There could be a variety of reasons. It could be, especially when you're looking at some of the questions that are being asked, he's asking specific stuff about like family members' businesses and stuff like that. That could be IRS related, you know? It could be murder cases. Do you know what the term dry snitching is? You know what a dry snitch is? Because a lot of the stuff that I've seen come out in the Nardwaur interviews, to me, Tony, falls under the category of dry snitching. Dry snitching, is indirectly telling secrets or offenses to a person of authority or any person meant to be kept away from a secret or offense, sometimes inadvertently. There are times when you have been a dry snitch without realizing what you said. That's what I'm talking about. That's the answer to your question right there, Tony. Dry snitching. And that's a great Fed type tactic. Because you can get them to incriminate themselves. You know, if you went up to somebody and they didn't know you and you're in your interview and you went, so, I hear you're friends with Billy Bob Jack Dick Nose. And we know Billy Bob Jack Dick Nose was implicated in a murder. Are you friends with him? How long you been friends with him? What do you think that person's going to do? They're going to go, oh, yo, fuck you. I'm no comment. I'm not talking. You know what I'm saying? They're going to end the interview. But with somebody like Nardwaur starts out in an interview and says, you know, what can you tell me about this guy? And shows him a picture or shows him a record. And then he'll say, whoever the person he's interviewing is, he'll say, Young Thug, thank you, Aunt June. I was just making something up. And then every time, well, yo, how the fuck you know about Aunt June? Don't nobody know about that. You see what I'm saying? And all of them are taped. All of them are filmed. He always has audio and video. Even the Kurt Cobain one, even the Nirvana one. His interviews are always filmed. They're not just, you could easily do something like that with just audio, but no. These are all filmed so you can see the pure reaction of the person, so you can read their body language. I don't know who is doing this. That would be pure speculation. I don't know what agency, who he works for. But yeah, without question, it seems that that whatever he's doing it and asking questions in a way that whoever's wanting to know this information will get everything they need to know by him asking these questions that aren't even really direct questions. So yeah, well, what's the game by bringing up such personal info? It's dry snitching. You can get someone to implicate themselves and connect themselves to crimes, to other activities, to other people that have been involved in other crimes that people are trying to connect people to. And you can do it in a way where they won't even know they ever snitched on themselves or anybody else. That's what he's doing. It's genius. It's genius. It's entertaining. It's genius. But if anybody ever figures out what he's doing, oh man, especially some of these black guys he's interviewing, shit. No, you know what they do to snitches. I don't have to tell you. But yeah, there's no question about it. And and he's interviewed a lot of people that have come up on my list. But yeah, you nailed it on the head there, Tony, saying that they don't just seem to be for pure entertainment when you look deeper. But I think that some of the stuff is definitely going on under the guise of intelligence gathering, but doing it in a way that will not arouse suspicion. That's classic Fed spook interrogation shit. And interestingly enough, it brings us right back to the MK Ultra stuff again, doesn't it? Because that's one of the elements of some of the MK projects that they were working on was interrogation techniques. And again, that kind of stuff, what they call dry snitching. Getting someone to tell you everything you need to know and implicate themselves in every way you need them to do it, but do it in a way in which they aren't actually coming right out and saying it. They're implicating themselves because of, just even acknowledging that they know somebody that you asked them about. Because again, if you came at them right over the top, you came at them right directly with a question. Let me ask you: Do you know Jerome P. Waterberger? Do you know him? You know him, right? Yeah, he murdered 3 people, and they're currently looking for other suspects. What can you tell us about him? You're not going to get shit. They're not going to tell you shit. But you lull them in. You give them. He always gives them a gift. I have straight out of the gates. I have a gift for you. And he'll give them some record, and it'll be like somebody that they were into listening when they were 8 years old, and nobody but their mom and dad ever even knew they listened to that record, and their mom and dad are both dead. So how the fuck did Nardwaur know? And then that gains their trust. Watch, it's a pattern. You see it in almost every interview he does, and he sort of lulls them into this, and makes them, because you'll see some of these real deep gangsta hood type guys turn into almost blubbering little girls, softies, to Nardwaur, hugging him and oh man, because he starts. It's classic like MK Ultra mind control stuff. He shows them something from their childhood, something from their good times, an album that influenced them, that made them want to get into music. He'll give them other, trinkets and stuff, hard to find, limited edition stuff from people that they love. He'll goes and find out, if you're into Michael Jackson, he'll bring you a bunch of Michael Jackson stuff. So then he's got them in a position where, because when they start out the interview, they're in character. Yeah, what's up, dog? Yeah. You kind of the guard is up. Then you can see him slowly delve in. Oh, then they start going, oh shit, oh fuck, how the fuck you know that, dog? Oh shit, and freaking out. Watch the DJ Logic one. He does that to him 2 or 3 times. And then basically he lulls them in, and it does something to their. You can see it. You can see it happen right before your eyes in any of these Nardwaur videos. And then they're comfortable because it's not, at that point they know too, it's not a regular interview thing. It's not going to be regular questions coming out. So they're more forthcoming with their answers. There's been a couple of things in some of this stuff. I mean, I don't even know any information surrounding it. There's been a couple of things of people he's interviewed. I think in the Kendrick Lamar one too was one like that, where he was naming off stuff like there was no way he could have known it. And Kendrick Lamar's like yelling off camera, yo, so-and-so, yo, fuck over here, man. Look at this fuck. You hear what he said? And he'll say a name that maybe only 2 people fucking should even know anything about. And somehow Nardwaur knows it. I mean, again and again and again this happens. But yeah, I just think these guys are just unsuspecting. It's genius if you ask me. I mean, it is genius, but who's doing it? Is it yielding any actual tangible results? I mean, have people, have people gone to jail? I don't know. I mean, some of the people he's interviewed, that guy Mac Miller, remember that guy Mac Miller? He interviewed him. So I hadn't watched that one, but I know he interviewed Mac Miller, and then Mac Miller killed himself. He interviewed Katy Perry. I mean, there's a lot of MK-connected people through the years, if you go look, that he's interviewed. So, I wish I had more for you, Tony. Anything else would be pure speculation. I can't tell you I know who he works for or to what end. I can tell you that whereas we have people who operate in this stuff and are doing it predominantly under the auspices of the CIA, Nardwaur is Canadian and operates out of Vancouver, British Columbia. So those intelligence operatives operate under the guise. If in Canada, they operate under the guise of British intelligence, because they're the ones who have dominion over the Canadian intelligence community. They don't have their own Canadian, CIA type thing like we do. It's all controlled by England because they're, they're under the crown. So I don't know. But there's some serious, there's some weird shady shit in Canada too that not really a lot of people really know about, or none of us really have a lot of information about with that kind of stuff. I mean, I've come up with a lot of stuff, there's a lot, I've talked about it before, there's a lot of weird stuff connected to Neil Peart from Rush and the death of his daughter in this strange one-car accident that I've done a lot of research on, that, all the records of the documents have been expunged, all the records have been sealed. There's weird stuff there. And then his wife dies of cancer less than a year later. there was, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of bullshit, I think, out there on the internet about it that I think has been put out there intentionally as disinformation. But whatever he was connected to, I definitely think somebody murdered his daughter. That's first and foremost. He could have given his wife cancer too. I don't know. All I know is that after they died, and he's a Canadian citizen, he's from, outside of Toronto. Neil left Canada altogether after his wife and his daughter died, and he never went. I mean, he's gone back for tours, but he sold all his property up there, even though his parents still live up there and stuff, and they're still alive, which is crazy to think Neil Peart's parents are still alive, as old as he is. St. Catherine, I think, is where he's from. But yeah, he lives in Los Angeles now. Has for many years. And I always thought there was something connected, maybe some sort of secret. He very well could have been working for British intelligence. I don't know. I mean, he went and lived in England. He was living in England for almost right up until the point in which he joined Rush, and that goes largely unreported. People don't ever talk about that. You never see it in bios or in interviews or in documentaries or anything, but you can go look it up. It's a fact. He's talked about it in his own writings before. But there's like this 2 or 3 year period that's kind of unexplained and unaccounted for, where Neil was living in England with no sort of reports on what he was doing. He wasn't going to school. He wasn't working a job. He wasn't playing in a band there. He was just in England for like 2 years, right up until about a month or so before he got the gig in Rush. And yet, again, that goes, even in the documentary you see, when all the stuff they talk about Neil's early days, they show him, even in the Rush documentary, which is on Netflix, they show him, the sort of narrative they show is like him playing drums in high school and then being in this jazz band, J.R. Flood, and then working in his dad's auto parts store or farm parts store or whatever, tractor parts store, and then Rush pulling up and him being in the band. But that's not how it happened at all. There's a big gap in there between the time he was in J.R. Flood and the time he was working at the parts store when Rush recruited him. Like a 2 or 3 year period where because he is a few years older than those Rush guys, than Alex and Neil. So I always thought there was that maybe he was an intelligence operative for those years. Maybe there was something that he did that came back on him all those years later after he became rich and famous, and that's why, because he carries a security guy. He used to go all over the world, but after his wife and kid died, he started carrying this. I've talked about it before. His this heavy detail, and this fucking Jewish Jesuit trained former Mossad agent guy that goes with him every single place he goes 24/7, and he's going on outings with this guy. It's just weird. It was never there before. He never had this guy. Praetorian security, I think is what it's called. You need to have a fucking former fucking killer, military killer, in your security, and not just in your security team, but with you at all times, 24/7. Even when he goes to award shows and stuff, he's got this guy with him now. That was never there before his wife and his daughter died. Yet they never address it. They never act like anything's wrong. They never bring this up. Something's up with that. I don't know what. I wish I did, but anything besides hard proof on that would be just pure speculation. But something's there. And I think it maybe have something to do with those couple of years that are sort of unaccounted for in those mysterious times that he spent in England just prior to becoming a member of the band Rush. Maybe he worked for British intelligence. This is just speculation, but, maybe he did some stuff there. Maybe he left when they didn't want him to leave. And because, again, if it was British intelligence, they'd be able to do that and operate and do whatever they want to do in terms of that to one of their operatives. They would have the jurisdiction to do that in Canada, is my point. So after he moved from Canada after their deaths, sold all his properties and doesn't live in Canada at all, he's only gone back there to play shows. That might possibly be it. Maybe it's, I don't know, it's speculation. Maybe it's more difficult for them to be able to do something to him if he's not living in Canada. It's bizarre stuff. It really is. Another interesting story, one of the things that's going to be in Spellcasters Volume 3, I've talked about this on the show before. It's unbelievable, man. These films have taken longer than I wanted to, but like I said before, man, I really think a lot of things in life happen for a reason, and I think a lot of the reasons that there's just been so many weird, out-of-my-hands things that have happened along the road of trying to make these films. I can understand things that are within my grasp, and, you can't control everything in life. You'll drive yourself crazy trying to do that, but it happened with Volume 1, too. I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff that's coming out now that had these films come out before, they would be less than they're going to be. It's hard to argue with that. One of the pieces of information that I've come across is that I'll be detailing in Part 3 is the deaths surrounding people connected to the knowledge about the replaced Paul McCartney. And one of those people that was killed because of his... Oh, there's a bunch of them. T-Rex was one. Mark Bolan, yeah, he was one. Was Brian Jones from the Rolling Stones. His death was not accidental. He was murdered because of his knowledge and possible going public with the information pertaining to the replacement of Paul McCartney. And now, this is just unbelievable. The timing of this is crazy, especially with all this other stuff we've been talking about, the Khashoggi stuff and Epstein and all that. Rolling Stones guitarist Brian Jones was murdered, says daughter. Daughter of Rolling Stones founder Brian Jones. This is unbelievable. This is the timing of this with my film and stuff coming out. Daughter of Rolling Stones founder Brian Jones asked police to reopen the case on the 50th anniversary of his death. Man. Jones's death was officially recorded as a misadventure, though conspiracy theories have circulated that he was murdered, something that police had reportedly denied. Well, right. There have been conspiracy theories saying, oh, it wasn't suicide, he was killed, but that's as far as people have ever gone with it. You see what I'm saying? That's as far as they've never told you the obvious answer to the question, well, then if so, why? You know, that seems to be a lot of what I'm doing with a lot of these cases and a lot of this stuff that I'm putting in Spellcasters 2 and 3 and whatever else comes. You know, it's not necessarily, I mean, of course, people have known about conspiracy surrounding Kurt Cobain's death for years. Of course, people have known about conspiracy surrounding, you know, whatever, the Brian Jones thing. But no one's ever really given you a proper explanation as to why. Okay, I'll believe that I'll buy into that. I'll believe. I'll believe he was murdered. But why? You know, I mean, that's the thing they never want to explain or try to give you any information on. They're happy to tell you, oh, such and such death was wasn't an accident, it was a murder. But again, they never want to tell you why. And the reason why they don't want to tell you why is because that opens up a whole other can of worms. They're hoping that you're not going to look into. And that other can of worms specifically is the whole fall situation. And so, yeah, it's fascinating. Again, the timing of this. It's just unbelievable, man. I mean, I've talked about it before, but, man, I think a lot of things that happen in life, they happen for a reason, and they happen the time they're supposed to happen. Just like when I made Spellcasters 1, if I would have put that out a year before, a lot of the important information in there wouldn't have made it in that film. And now with all this new stuff that's coming out, and I mean, it's unbelievable how much stuff is now coming out right as I'm getting close to finishing this film. And if it would have come out before then, it would have basically been made null and void by all this stuff that's coming out now. So that's what I mean when I say trust the process. The process is bigger than you and me. That's why no matter what I've had to endure in all this, along the way, I've trusted the process that these films are going to be done and ready when they are done and ready, and not any time before. So, yeah, I mean, this is crazy, but I've still got, don't worry. I mean, it's great that a lot of this stuff is coming out now, and it's great that it's confirming a lot of the stuff that I've already been on to, but listen, the stuff that I've got covering these films that isn't even out there yet, like not at all, that nobody else but me has put together yet, that's what's exciting. That's what's exciting. Somebody had sent me this earlier today. This had the info pertaining to the Epstein and Khashoggi connection. Investigative journalist explains why Jeffrey Epstein might have needed a fake passport. Why did the wealthy and connected accused child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein have a fake passport that listed his address as Saudi Arabia? The detail came out Monday in a federal courtroom where federal prosecutors said that they had been made aware that a safe in Epstein's Upper East Side townhouse contained a passport. The passport had a photo that appeared to be of Epstein, but it had a different name. While it was not initially specified which country issued the passport, it has since been identified as an Austrian passport. Eyebrows were raised when Saudi Arabia was listed as Epstein's current home address. The passport was issued in the 80s and is currently expired. Vicky Ward is an investigative journalist who recently said that she was silenced back in 2002 and 2003 when attempting to expose Epstein as a sexual abuser of young girls in a Vanity Fair profile, The Talented Mr. Epstein. In a Twitter thread on Monday, Ward discussed what Epstein reportedly said he was up to in the 80s to explain how he might have come to possess a fake passport with a home address in Saudi Arabia. In the 1980s, Jeffrey Epstein used to tell people he was kind of a financial bounty hunter whose job it was to find lost or stolen money for the government for very rich people, Ward said. A former Epstein friend reported in Salon last week that Epstein claimed he worked for governments to recover money looted by African dictators. Other times, those dictators hired him to help them hide their stolen money. Why did I just get a flash in my head as I was reading those sentences? As I was reading that last stuff, I got a flash in my head of Queen at Live Aid, and I could just see Freddie Mercury like doing his pump fist thing for Radio Gaga. Why did that flash in my head right then as I was reading that? He worked for governments to recover money looted by African dictators. Other times, those dictators hired them to help them hide their stolen money. Well, you know that all came out, right? You saw, I mean, that came out like 10 years ago. That was reported on BBC News. That all that money raised at Live Aid didn't go to feed starving children in Africa. Not one red cent. it all went to install a U.S. and British approved dictator in Africa. That's facts. That all came out. And I mean, Geldof, why do you think Geldof got all the accolades after? It wasn't because of he helped feed a bunch of starving children. No. It's because he pulled off that massive operation for the British and U.S. governments with Live Aid. And people forget that like a year before that, the whole thing was Sun City and the apartheid thing was going on. And Queen was the only band that broke they had a moratorium on bands going there and playing. And Queen said, we don't care. We're not going to deprive our fans of seeing us live, no matter just for some political reason. And they got blackballed and blacklisted and throughout the music industry. That's why they wouldn't play any of their stuff off the album The Works. That's the real reason why they banned the I Want to Break Free video where they were dressed in drag, not because they were dressed as women. Had nothing to do with that. It was because of their decision to go play Sun City in South Africa. That's why that really happened. And then they sold to the public, oh, well, it was just a bunch of bigots at MTV that didn't want them to play the video. Right. Because MTV's been known as a bunch of bigots and not as a bunch of liberal lefties for years and years and years. Come on. That makes no sense. Have you ever thought MTV seemed conservative to you? Do you think MTV would ban a band for dressing up as women? Give me a break. How many men did they have looking like women in videos, on other videos in the 1980s on MTV? The real reason was because they made the decision to go to South Africa and play. And then Live Aid comes about and they need them to play. They come on to Live Aid and play. They're the biggest band. There was no money coming in until Queen went on. Queen goes on, Bob Geldof picks up the phone, and who's on the other end? A Saudi oil man contributing the first £1 million to Live Aid. That's fact. That's how that happened. And, you know, there they are on Khashoggi's ship. They wrote that song a couple years later. The next to the last album they ever did, Khashoggi's Ship. We partied on the ship, and he talks about some big guy that wanted to fucking beat him up or something. Freddie absolutely witnessed some stuff on that Khashoggi ship relating to this sex trafficking stuff, and that's why they killed him. I've always known. I don't know how. Even when I was a teenager, I just knew. Even with no evidence to back it up, no proof. I never told anybody, never said it to anybody. I just had this feeling and this voice and this thing in my head when I was a teenager. I was like, he was murdered. I just knew it was a lie. He died from AIDS was a lie. It was a lie. It was a lie. And so basically, this Vicky Ward lady, she was trying to tell people as early as 2002, 2003 about the connection to Khashoggi. Ward, citing her own source, said that, quote, one of the rich people for whom Jeffrey Epstein chased down money for was Adnan Khashoggi, a powerful Saudi businessman who happened to be the uncle of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Khashoggi, now deceased, was very powerful in Saudi Arabia and may well have been in a position to have helped Epstein procure documentation in that country. He was also a CIA asset, which Vicky Ward, you should know, is what really blows this whole thing wide open. Because this means that both Khashoggi, which everyone's already known was on the CIA payroll, and Epstein were both on the CIA payroll and have been all along. This is what I'm showing and proving in my work with the spellcasters. And they've been trying to shut her down. This is why they never let her publish anything in the first place. Okay, I get all this now. Wow. So that means that the main piece of info that they've been trying to hide all these years to keep this Epstein thing from blowing open was this connection to Khashoggi. Which 100% explains why fucking Russ Baker rolled his eyes and laughed at me when I started telling him about the connections to Alex Jones, Adnan Khashoggi, the Bronfman banking empire. He probably very well knew it was true 10 years ago. And because the way he reacted to me, it was kind of that way, like, whenever you say to somebody like, you like, whoever dealt it, smelled it, or like, you accuse somebody, hey man, did you fart? And they get that like, no, I didn't fart. And they start squishing their eye. That was kind of how he did. He's just like squishing his eyebrows, like, oh, I don't know if I believe that. You're telling me Alex Jones is somehow connected to Saudi oil people, Khashoggi, and the Bronfman banking empire? Come on. I was like, it sounds unbelievable, man, but I'm telling you, the connections are 100% there. That fucking guy, he knew even then. Because that tells me that, and what a spook that guy was. I knew he was a spook. I knew he smelled like a spooky spook. He was trying to make me feel and believe that I was off track, thinking that I was coming to him thinking he was some kind of guru or something. Man, everybody's known about it. That's the thing. Everybody's been known about. A lot of people have known about this shit for a long time, and a lot of people have been keeping their mouths shut because, again, this is like I've said about all these cases. That's why you're never going to get the whole truth about the whole Russian collusion thing, and you're never going to get the whole truth about this thing because it implements too many people at the highest levels, and this stuff ties into the highest degrees of national security, ladies and gentlemen. And this is what I've been trying to get across to you for the past 10 years. This is it. That's why I've been trying to show you how big this is. And Jones connects to it, and the Charlie Sheen thing. I mean, all this stuff, all these years has all been connecting into this. The fall stuff, Courtney Love, MK, man. This is going to be a hell of a film series when it's done. But, hey, we got another $100. We got to have $200 in here by tomorrow, by Thursday. We've got stuff we've had to do since the first of the month when we came up short that's due this week, and I got to get at least a couple of $100 in here tomorrow. 400 is our total goal for the week. If we could get 200 in tomorrow and 200 Friday, that'd be good. Get your questions in. $200 contribution will get you a question for the show, plus the complete download collection box set with all my work, all my films, all my audiobooks, everything. $100 contribution will get you 5 downloads and a question for the show. We also have the download collection box set on sale by itself for just $150 this week, usually $175. Lifetime archive subscriptions are on sale until next week for $300 as well. Please make a contribution. We're running on fumes here, folks. This is the most important time with all this stuff coming out. I need some money to operate a little nest egg. I need a little cash infusion in here so I can have some money to operate on until we get to the end of this month, first of next month, so I can get these films finished ASAP before any more fucking crazy shit starts coming out. I need your help. We're running on fumes. Please contribute right now. Get your contributions in. We need at least to have $200 by tomorrow, minimum $400 total by Friday. Find all the links here in the video, in the comment section, and in the information section of the film and the video here on YouTube, and as well as on my social media sites on the Global Reality Radio Network page on Facebook and the Josh Reeves Filmmaker Talk Show Host Explore page there as well. I love you guys. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Take care.